What if dinosaurs had never gone extinct? Imagine the last evening of the Cretaceous period. The air is warm. Flowering plants crowd the riverbanks. Insects move between blossoms that no human eye will ever see. Somewhere in what will one day be called Western North America, a herd of horned dinosaurs crosses a broad floodplain while, farther away, a tyrannosaur follows the scent of something dead. Nothing in that landscape knows that, in our history, the world has only hours left before everything changes. Far above the atmosphere, a dark object is approaching Earth at more than 20 kilometers per second. It is roughly the size of a mountain. It has been traveling through space for millions of years. It does not know Mexico exists. It does not know dinosaurs exist. It does not know that one tiny difference in its path will help decide which branches of life inherit the planet. In our world, it strikes the shallow sea near the Yucatan Peninsula. Tonight, it misses. Not by much, on astronomical scales. Perhaps by a few thousand kilometers. Perhaps Earth turns beneath it just a little differently. The asteroid passes through the darkness, crosses the planet's orbit, and continues toward a future in which no creature on Earth will ever know how close it came. There is no flash brighter than the sun over the Yucatan. No crater almost 200 kilometers wide. No worldwide cloud of pulverized rock and soot racing through the atmosphere. No sudden darkness falling over forests on the other side of the planet. No impact winter collapsing food webs in a geological instant. Morning comes, and for the dinosaurs, it is simply another morning. That small change gives us one of the largest possible alternate histories of life, because the question is not really whether Tyrannosaurus rex would still be walking around today. Almost certainly it would not. 66 million years is far too much evolutionary time for that. Species appear, change, split, and disappear even when no asteroid arrives to end an era. The dinosaurs living in a modern world would be descendants of Cretaceous animals, transformed by tens of millions of years of climate change, continental drift, competition, disease, new plants, new predators, and simple evolutionary chance. So tonight we are not going to build a Jurassic Park that somehow lasts forever. We are going to let evolution keep moving. And that makes the story much stranger. There is one scientific detail worth settling immediately. Dinosaurs did not completely disappear in our own history. Birds are living dinosaurs, descendants of small feathered theropods, which means that sparrows, ravens, eagles, penguins, and hummingbirds are not merely related to dinosaurs in some distant informal sense. They belong inside the dinosaur family tree. When we ask what would happen if dinosaurs had never gone extinct, what we really mean is, what if the non-avian dinosaur lineages had survived too? What if the great branches containing tyrannosaurs, ceratopsians, hadrosaurs, ankylosaurs, titanosaurs, and many other forms had not been abruptly cut off at the end of the Cretaceous? The asteroid missing would not make the world safe. That matters. The late Cretaceous Earth was already changing. Enormous volcanic eruptions in what is now India were building the Deccan Traps, releasing gases and altering climate. Sea levels were shifting. Habitats were changing. Scientists still debate whether non-avian dinosaurs were declining in diversity before the impact, and the fossil record is not complete enough to give us a simple answer. What we can say is that an asteroid-free world does not mean every dinosaur species survives indefinitely. Tyrannosaurus might last another 100,000 years, or 1,000,000, perhaps longer. Triceratops might split into several descendant species as populations become isolated. Some lineages would vanish during ordinary ecological crises. Others would radiate into new habitats. The crucial difference is that there is no sudden planetary reset. In our timeline, the Chicxulub impact removed the dominant large terrestrial animals and opened ecological space on an extraordinary scale. In this alternate world, those spaces remain occupied. And that changes almost everything that follows. For the first few thousand years after the asteroid's silent passage, very little seems different. A paleontologist somehow transported into this world might not even notice that history has changed. The same forests stand. The same rivers move toward the sea. Large herbivores still browse and graze on low vegetation. Predators still follow them. Small mammals still emerge after sunset, listening carefully for movement in the darkness. Those mammals are important. Popular images of the age of dinosaurs sometimes reduce them to tiny shrew-like creatures waiting helplessly for the reptiles to disappear. The real Mesozoic mammal story was already more varied. Mammals had experimented with climbing, digging, swimming, gliding, insect eating, plant eating, and predation long before the end of the Cretaceous. They were not evolutionary failures, but they lived under a ceiling. Large-bodied terrestrial niches were overwhelmingly occupied by dinosaurs. A mammal could become clever, specialized, nocturnal, arboreal, burrowing, or aquatic, but becoming a 6-ton land herbivore meant competing in ecosystems where dinosaurs had already spent more than 100 million years evolving into extraordinarily effective large herbivores. Becoming the dominant large predator meant entering a world containing theropods refined for exactly that role. In our history, the ceiling shattered at the end of the Cretaceous. In this history, it stays. The first consequence is therefore not that mammals disappear. It is that mammals never receive the same invitation. They continue diversifying around dinosaurs rather than after them. Picture one of them moving through the leaf litter perhaps 500,000 years after the mist impact. It is warm-blooded. It has fur. It nurses its young. It can smell a fallen fruit beneath damp leaves. Its ancestors survived alongside dinosaurs for tens of millions of years, and its descendants may continue doing so for tens of millions more. Above it, a small feathered theropod pauses. The two animals notice each other. Neither is primitive. Neither is waiting to become something better. They are simply two successful branches of life sharing the same forest. Then the climate begins to change. The world after the Cretaceous does not hold still simply because Chicxulub never happens. Continents continue drifting. India continues moving toward Asia. The Atlantic widens. Ocean gateways change. Mountains rise. Carbon moves between rocks, oceans, plants, and atmosphere. Volcanoes erupt. Orbital cycles continue altering the distribution of sunlight. Evolution must follow all of it. One of the first great tests arrives in the warm, early part of the Cenozoic. Although in this world no one would call it the Cenozoic, because the name means roughly the age of recent life and reflects a history in which mammals became dominant. Our geological vocabulary itself carries the fingerprint of the extinction. About 56 million years ago in our timeline, Earth experiences the Paleocene-Eocene thermal maximum, a rapid interval of intense global warming associated with a massive release of carbon into the ocean atmosphere system. Temperatures rise dramatically. Rainfall patterns shift. Oceans acidify. Ecosystems move toward the poles. The dinosaurs must face it too. This is where our alternate world begins to stop resembling the Cretaceous. Large animals are vulnerable when environments change quickly. They require more food, larger territories, and usually reproduce more slowly than small animals. Some dinosaur lineages would suffer. The magnificent giants of one interval need not be the winners of the next. But dinosaurs had already survived enormous climate variation during their real history. Their group included animals adapted to deserts, floodplains, forests, high latitudes, and seasonal darkness. Fossils show dinosaurs living surprisingly close to the poles long before the asteroid arrived. Many theropods possessed feathers, and insulation had evolved deep within dinosaur history. So rather than imagining dinosaurs simply failing when the planet changes, imagine selection working on them. Populations in warm regions shift northward or southward. Smaller-bodied species have an advantage in some environments. Large herbivores alter migration routes. Feathers become denser in lineages exposed to colder seasons. In hot tropical regions, body coverings become reduced or specialized for display rather than insulation. Diets change as flowering plants continue their immense radiation. The animals of the late Cretaceous slowly become ancestors rather than inhabitants. 10 million years pass. That sentence is easy to say and almost impossible to feel. 10 million years ago, our own lineage had not yet produced the genus Homo. 10 million years is enough time for coastlines to change, mountains to rise, species to split again and again, and recognizable body plans to become unfamiliar. A tyrannosaur descendant living 10 million years after the missed asteroid might no longer look exactly like Tyrannosaurus rex. Perhaps some branches become smaller, faster pursuit predators. Others become more heavily feathered in cool, northern environments. Some disappear completely. Ceratopsian descendants may develop new arrangements of horns and frills. Hadrosaur descendants may diversify into browsers specialized for different heights and plant communities. Ankylosaur lineages might remain relatively conservative in shape because armor works extremely well, yet even they would change in details of size, metabolism, behavior, and habitat. And sauropods, if titanosaurs remain successful, face a particularly interesting future. The largest dinosaurs were not simply oversized mammals with scales. Their respiratory systems, growth patterns, skeletal construction, reproduction, and long necks gave them a very different biological solution to being enormous. Some sauropods laid many relatively small eggs rather than giving birth to one huge, highly developed infant. Air-filled spaces lightened their skeletons. Bird-like respiratory anatomy may have helped move oxygen efficiently through immense bodies. If those lineages continue, mammals may never get the chance to reinvent the elephant-sized herbivore niche in quite the same way. There may be no elephants, no rhinoceroses as we know them, perhaps no giraffes. Not because mammals are incapable of producing large herbivores, but because ecology is not an empty design competition. Evolution works with occupied space. If a 20-ton browsing dinosaur is already feeding efficiently high above the ground, a mammal trying to enter the same niche begins at a disadvantage. This is the first recurring rule of our alternate Earth. The absence of extinction does not merely preserve old animals. It prevents new animals from receiving opportunities they had in our world. And nowhere will that matter more than in the story of us. To understand whether humans could ever appear here, we need to be careful with attempting simplification. It would be easy to say that dinosaurs survive, mammals stay tiny forever, primates never evolve, and therefore humans are impossible. Reality is less tidy. Primates did not evolve because large dinosaurs vanished from one particular ecological niche. Early primate relatives were small animals living in trees, eating fruit, leaves, and insects. Arboreal life is exactly the kind of niche mammals had already begun exploring before the asteroid. So a dinosaur-dominated world does not automatically prevent something primate-like from evolving. But evolution is a chain of contingencies. The primates we know arose in ecosystems shaped by the extinction and everything that followed it. The mammals that survived the KPG crisis were filtered by the catastrophe itself. Their competitors changed. Forest structure changed. Predators changed. Climate changed. Entire mammalian radiations unfolded into ecological spaces that had suddenly opened. Later, apes evolved within particular forests. Hominins emerged amid particular African environments. Bipedalism, dexterous hands, social learning, control of fire, language, and cumulative culture all depended on a long sequence of earlier steps. Change the first great branching point, and you do not simply get the same sequence with dinosaurs standing in the background. You get a different tree. Perhaps some primate like mammal still evolves. Perhaps it becomes an agile canopy animal in tropical forests, clever and social, but never terrestrial. Perhaps another mammalian lineage develops excellent manipulation and problem solving. Perhaps none of them ever approaches human cognition. The exact species Homo sapiens is extraordinarily unlikely. That is not because evolution was aiming at humans and the dinosaurs blocked the path. It is because evolution was never aiming at humans in the first place. We are one outcome among an enormous number of possibilities. Now let another 20 million years pass. Earth begins cooling. Around 34 million years ago in our history, atmospheric carbon dioxide declines enough for permanent large ice sheets to begin growing on Antarctica. The transition from a warm greenhouse world toward an icehouse world reorganizes oceans, sea level, rainfall, and habitats across the planet. On our alternate Earth, dinosaurs experienced the same broad planetary pressure, though the details of climate could be modified by the different vegetation and ecosystems they themselves helped create. This is another important idea. Large animals do not merely live inside landscapes. They can help make landscapes. Herbivores remove vegetation. They break branches. They trample seedlings. They compact soil. They carry seeds. They create paths. They alter fire patterns. Modern elephants can turn woodland into more open habitat. Large herds of grazing mammals can reshape grasslands. In the late Cretaceous, enormous dinosaur herbivores likely exerted equally profound pressure on vegetation and rivers. Recent research has even suggested that the disappearance of dinosaur megafauna may have helped dense forests establish in some places after the real extinction, changing erosion and river behavior. In our alternate timeline, that disappearance never occurs. A floodplain in what will one day be Montana may remain more open because herds repeatedly browse young trees. A subtropical forest in Asia may contain broad corridors maintained by migrating herbivores. Riverbanks collapse under the feet of animals weighing several tons, redirecting channels over generations. The dinosaurs are not scenery. They are engineers. As Antarctica freezes, colder winters spread across high latitudes. Some old dinosaur lineages retreat toward warmer regions. Others adapt. Imagine a northern theropod descended from small feathered hunters. Over millions of generations, natural selection favors dense plumage, compact extremities, and social hunting during long winters. Its feathers are not decorative. They trap air close to the body. Juveniles remain within family groups longer because learning where to find food through deep seasonal cycles matters more than raw speed. Farther south, a large herbivore follows annual migration routes that stretch hundreds of kilometers. Generations of animals memorize valleys, river crossings, mineral deposits, and winter feeding grounds through inherited behavior and social learning. None of this requires human-like intelligence. Caribou migrate. Elephants remember water. Birds navigate across continents. Wolves coordinate hunts. Intelligence evolves in forms suited to problems, not toward one universal ladder. That matters when we later ask whether dinosaurs might become intelligent enough to build technology. For now, the more immediate lesson is that cold does not automatically end their story. By the Oligocene, the planet is different from the one Tyrannosaurus knew. Antarctica carries ice. Tropical forests have contracted. Open habitats spread in some regions. New plant communities appear. Mammals continue evolving, but without the same giant expansion of body size that occurred in our timeline after dinosaur extinction. Some mammals become medium-sized. There is no biological law forcing them all to remain mouse-sized forever. A pig-sized or even larger mammal might find opportunities that dinosaurs do not dominate efficiently. Burrowing herbivores, nocturnal omnivores, arboreal specialists, semi-aquatic forms, and fast-reproducing generalists all remain plausible. But the largest terrestrial bodies still tend to belong to dinosaurs. The sky may also look very different. Remember that the end Cretaceous impact did not eliminate only non-avian dinosaurs. Pterosaurs disappeared too. In our world, birds inherited the skies without their great flying reptile competitors. If the asteroid misses, some pterosaur lineages may continue. This does not mean giant asdarchids remain unchanged for 66 million years. They too evolve. Some go extinct. Some shrink. Some become coastal fishers. Others specialize for long-distance soaring. Birds continue diversifying beside them, especially in niches where small size, rapid maneuverability, and complex song provide advantages. Imagine looking upward 10 million years after the missed asteroid and seeing two very different solutions to flight sharing the same wind. Feathered birds darting through woodland and long-winged pterosaur descendants circling high above open country. The oceans are altered too. Mosasaurs and plesiosaurs were also lost at the end of the Cretaceous. Without the impact, at least some marine reptile lineages might persist long enough to compete with the mammals that, in our world, eventually returned to the sea and became whales. Would whales still evolve? Perhaps. The transition from land mammal to marine mammal could still occur if ecological opportunity exists near coasts and rivers. But the oceans would not be waiting empty. Large marine reptiles might occupy roles that early whales exploited in our timeline. Cetacean evolution could be delayed, redirected, or prevented entirely. So even the sound of the sea changes. There may be no blue whale songs traveling through modern oceans. Instead, some enormous descendant of a Cretaceous marine reptile might surface to breathe beneath a sky crossed by pterosaurs. This is when our alternate world begins to feel less like an edited version of our Earth and more like another Earth entirely. The continents are recognizable. The moon is the same. The sun rises at nearly the same distance. But the living surface of the planet follows a different memory. Millions of years later, another revolution begins in vegetation. Grasses, which were already present by the late Cretaceous, become increasingly important. In our timeline, especially during the later Miocene and Pliocene, extensive grasslands and savannas spread across many regions, transforming herbivore evolution. This would challenge dinosaur herbivores in new ways. Grass is deceptively difficult food. It can be abrasive. Dust and silica increase tooth wear. A successful grazer must process large quantities efficiently and cope with teeth constantly being ground down. Mammals evolved extraordinary solutions: high-crowned teeth, complex chewing, specialized digestive systems, and in some lineages continuously growing teeth. But dinosaurs had already evolved their own impressive dental machinery. Hadrosaurs possessed batteries containing hundreds of teeth, with worn teeth continuously replaced. Ceratopsians also had sophisticated dental batteries suited to processing tough vegetation. In our alternate timeline, descendants of these groups may become formidable grazers. Picture a broad plain 8 million years ago. The grass moves in the wind. A herd approaches, not of horses or antelope, but of medium-sized descendants of hadrosaurs. Their ancestors once browsed Cretaceous vegetation. These animals carry deep jaws packed with replacement teeth. Their bodies are leaner than the classic duck-billed forms of museum halls, shaped by millions of years of movement across open ground. Some run primarily on their hind limbs when threatened. Others remain quadrupedal. Their feet are adapted to firm, dry soil. Their young stay near the center of the herd. Behind them moves a predator, not Tyrannosaurus. That lineage may have vanished long ago. This hunter descends from smaller theropods that benefited when habitats became open. It is feathered along the neck and back, with bare skin on parts of the body where heat must escape. Its eyes face forward. It watches the herd for weakness. The chase that follows would be unfamiliar and yet instantly understandable. Predator and prey have been doing this dance for hundreds of millions of years. The names change. The logic remains. And nearby, almost unnoticed, mammals continue their own quiet experiments. Some live underground beneath the dinosaur herds. Some climb scattered woodland. Some stalk insects at night. A few become intelligent generalists, capable of learning routes, opening hard-shelled food, and exploiting leftovers from dinosaur kills. One of those lineages may become very clever, but clever is not the same as human. Not yet. Then Africa changes. In our history, the long transformation of African forests and woodlands helps shape the story of apes and, eventually, hominins. That story is complicated and not reducible to a simple sentence about forests disappearing and savannas appearing, but changing habitats clearly mattered. Our ancestors lived in mosaics of woodland, grassland, rivers, and seasonal environments that rewarded flexibility. On Dinosaur Earth, Africa changes too. Rainfall fluctuates. Rift valleys develop. Grasslands expand and contract. Lakes appear and disappear. Volcanism redraws local landscapes. There is still every reason for evolution to favor animals capable of learning, remembering, cooperating, and using objects. Could an ape evolve here? Possibly. Could an ape become bipedal? Also possibly. Could something surprisingly similar to an early hominin appear despite the dinosaurs? We cannot rule it out with confidence. But the probability of repeating our exact path is vanishingly small. Every species changes the selective environment of other species. Different predators alter where primates can safely forage. Different herbivores alter forest edges. Different diseases evolve. Different fruits dominate different seasons. Even the timing of fires may change because dinosaur herbivores modify vegetation in ways mammalian megafauna never did. A primate lineage on this earth would be solving a different set of problems. Perhaps one branch becomes larger and more terrestrial. It may walk upright occasionally to look across tall vegetation. It may use stones to crack hard foods. It may travel in social groups and recognize dozens of individual relationships. But there is a predator in this world that our ancestors never faced. Not a movie monster. A modern theropod, perhaps 2 meters tall at the hip, intelligent enough to anticipate movement, fast enough to pursue across open ground, and descended from 60 million years of continual competition with clever prey. That pressure could make a primate lineage more cautious, more arboreal, more nocturnal, or perhaps more cooperative. It could also erase it. Evolution does not owe intelligence a second chance. Now imagine a different possibility. Instead of asking whether mammals become human-like, ask what the dinosaurs themselves might do with 66 million extra years. This is where popular speculation usually leaps toward a creature with a huge head, grasping hands, upright posture, and an almost human face. We should resist that image. There is no reason intelligence must converge on the human body. Look at the living dinosaurs around us. Crows can solve multi-step problems. Ravens remember social relationships. Parrots learn abstract categories, manipulate objects, and imitate sounds. Some birds plan, use tools, count, deceive competitors, and adapt rapidly to novel environments. Their brains are organized differently from mammalian brains, yet they can perform cognitive tasks that once seemed to require a primate-style cortex. High intelligence has already evolved inside Dinosauria. It happened in our world after the non-avian branches were gone. So the interesting question is not whether dinosaur brains could ever become sophisticated. We know they can. The question is whether a surviving non-avian lineage would encounter the right combination of pressures for cognition to become exceptionally useful. Imagine a small omnivorous theropod descendant living in a seasonal environment 20 million years ago. It is not enormous. Large brains are metabolically expensive, and intelligence often pays best in animals facing variable problems rather than simple ones. This creature eats eggs, fruit, insects, small vertebrates, carrion, and whatever else it can exploit. Food changes with the seasons. Competitors remember cache locations. Predators recognize habitual routes. Social alliances matter. Individuals that learn quickly survive better. Those that remember which plants fruit after storms do better. Those that can watch another animal solve a problem and copy the behaviors save time. Those that communicate about danger protect relatives. Generation after generation, cognition becomes more valuable. Its forelimbs are already capable of grasping to some degree, though not like human hands. Its mouth is precise. Perhaps it manipulates sticks with the jaws and feet in the way parrots do. Perhaps it uses stones to break shells. Perhaps juveniles learn traditions unique to particular groups. After several million years, populations may possess cultures in the biological sense, behaviors transmitted socially rather than genetically. One group uses hooked twigs. Another drops hard food from cliffs. Another follows large herbivores because insects rise from their footsteps. None has metallurgy. None has cities. None has written language. And there is no guarantee any ever will. Technological civilization requires an unusual sequence of abilities to come together. Intelligence alone is not enough. Dolphins are intelligent but cannot make fire underwater. Elephants are intelligent and dexterous but lack hands capable of fine manufacturing. Crows can shape tools but cannot easily carry out the controlled, forceful manipulation that human stoneworking demands. Humans had an extraordinary combination: large social brains, precise hands, upright locomotion that freed those hands, long childhoods for learning, vocal communication, cumulative culture, and eventually control of fire. A dinosaur lineage would need its own route. Maybe it finds one. Maybe it never does. That uncertainty is one of the most beautiful parts of this thought experiment. The modern world could contain beings with crow-like or ape-like intelligence watching sunsets, teaching young, grieving companions, and solving problems, while never building a radio telescope or inventing a word for star. Intelligence does not become less remarkable because it stops before technology. Then the world cools again. By a few million years ago, large ice sheets grow across the northern hemisphere in our history. Glacial and interglacial cycles begin repeatedly, pushing ecosystems south and north. Sea level falls when ice expands and rises when it melts. Land bridges appear and disappear. This is a brutal test for any lineage dependent on stable climate. Dinosaurs face winters unlike anything most Cretaceous species experienced. Yet by now, they have had tens of millions of years to adapt to a cooler Earth. The word dinosaur would no longer imply tropical giant. Many species in high latitudes are feathered. Some have thick insulating coats of filamentous plumage over much of the body. Some large herbivores combine bulk with seasonal fat storage. Small species shelter in burrows, caves, or communal nests. Migration becomes one of the great rhythms of the planet. Imagine northern Eurasia during a glacial period. The landscape is open and cold. Wind moves across dry steppe. Snow lies in shallow sheets between exposed grasses and hardy shrubs. A herd appears on the horizon. From far away, they resemble dark moving stones. As they approach, their bodies become clear, stocky herbivorous dinosaurs, not identical to any Cretaceous form, covered in dense primitive feathers across the torso and neck. Their faces remain more exposed. Their beaks, sheer frozen vegetation. Their young move close between adults when storms arrive. Nearby, mammals live too. Perhaps there are shaggy burrowers and fox-sized omnivores. Maybe some larger mammalian herbivores have evolved in niches dinosaurs use poorly. But there is no mammoth steppe in the form we know, because mammoths themselves probably never evolve. The dominant giant herbivores are dinosaurian. Predators follow them. One lineage descends from Maniraptor and theropods and has become a long-legged endurance hunter. Another is heavier, solitary, and ambushes near river crossings. Their tracks cross snow. For the first time in this story, our imaginary Earth may contain something the public would find almost paradoxical: dinosaurs in a blizzard. But the paradox exists only because popular culture froze dinosaurs into a warm Mesozoic stereotype. Evolution would not care about the stereotype. Cold-adapted dinosaurs are not a ridiculous idea. Feathered theropods already existed, and real dinosaurs inhabited high-latitude environments with months of darkness and strong seasonality. Given 66 million additional years, cold would become another ecological problem to solve. At the same time, tropical regions remain astonishingly diverse. There, giant herbivores still shape forests. Smaller dinosaurs fill roles comparable to deer, pigs, monkeys, and ground birds. Pterosaurs may patrol coasts and rivers. Birds have diversified into thousands of forms. Mammals remain part of the system, sometimes abundant, sometimes clever, occasionally large, but never inheriting the planet as a whole. And then something else happens that our world knows well. Species move between continents. Land connections rearrange ecosystems. When North and South America connect, the exchange is not between familiar mammalian faunas, but between two independently evolved dinosaur-rich communities. South America may have preserved lineages long absent from the North. Perhaps giant titanosaurs remain important there. Perhaps unusual predatory theropods descended from abelisaurs survive in isolated regions. North America sends its own grazing and browsing dinosaurs south. The meeting is ecological chaos. Some newcomers spread rapidly. Others fail. Predators encounter prey with defenses they have never seen. Parasites cross into hosts with no evolutionary history against them. Plant seeds travel in digestive systems across new ranges. Extinctions happen, not because of a cosmic catastrophe, but because life meeting life can be enough. This is worth emphasizing. A world where dinosaurs survive Chicxulub is not a world where dinosaurs become immortal. Most Cretaceous species still vanish eventually. Entire dinosaur families may disappear during later climate transitions. New families evolve. Evolutionary success belongs to the branching lineage, not to a particular famous species. If we could somehow travel to this alternate present carrying a field guide from 66 million years ago, it would be nearly useless. You would not recognize the animals. You might notice anatomical echoes. A grazing herd might carry the deep dental machinery of hadrosaur ancestors. A small forest predator might fold its arms in a way that reminds you of dromaeosaurs. A huge tropical browser might inherit the long-necked architecture of titanosaurs. But their species would be new. Their colors would be new. Their calls would be new. Their social systems would be new. The most honest modern dinosaur world is therefore not one where time stopped. It is one where time never stopped at all. Now let the remaining millions of years pass. The ice ages pulse. Forests advance and retreat. Coastlines breathe in and out with sea level. Some dinosaur lineages vanish in droughts. Others expand during warm intervals. Mammals persist. Birds radiate. Pterosaurs, if any branches have survived this long, become something no Cretaceous observer would recognize. And finally, we reach the year that, in our own history, we call 2026. There is an important question waiting here. What does Earth look like tonight? Begin from space. The planet is familiar. Clouds swirl above blue oceans. Antarctica gleams white. Deserts lie across northern Africa and Central Asia. The outlines of the continents are almost exactly where we expect them. Tectonics did not need humans or mammals to continue. But the night side of the planet is dark. No web of city lights traces coastlines. No highways connect glowing metropolitan areas. No fishing fleets glitter across the sea. No satellites cross overhead unless some technological species, dinosaur or otherwise, has evolved to build them. If no such civilization arose, the most visually obvious difference between our Earth and dinosaur Earth would not be the animals. It would be the absence of us. There are no wheat fields covering former grasslands. No cattle pastures spreading across cleared forest. No plastic in ocean gyres. No aircraft contrails. No concrete megacities. No industrial carbon pulse raising atmospheric greenhouse gases at the rate humans have produced over the past few centuries. That does not make the planet untouched. Dinosaurs themselves reshape it. Fire still burns. Volcanoes still alter climate. Natural methane enters the atmosphere. Rivers flood. Hurricanes make landfall. Species invade new regions. Ecosystems collapse and recover. Mass extinctions can happen without humans. But the specific geological force created by industrial civilization is absent. The planet has not entered the Anthropocene, whatever name geologists might otherwise give the modern interval. Imagine descending toward North America. The eastern forests are continuous across enormous distances because no human agriculture broke them into farms and suburbs. Yet they are not dense everywhere. Large dinosaur herbivores maintain openings, browsing saplings and moving in seasonal herds. Some areas resemble woodland savanna rather than closed forest. A river bends across a broad valley. On a sandbar stands an animal weighing perhaps 4 tons. It is a herbivorous dinosaur descended from a lineage that survived the end of the Cretaceous. Those 66 million years of evolution have erased any simple family resemblance. It has a keratinous beak, batteries of replacement teeth, and a crest used partly for sound. Its skin carries a mixture of scales and filamentous structures along the spine. The exact combination is speculative, but the principle is not. Evolution reuses inherited anatomy in new environments. The animal lowers its head and produces a low resonant call. Others answer from beyond the trees. There are no humans nearby to hear it. That absence changes the emotional center of the entire thought experiment. When people ask what if dinosaurs had never gone extinct, the instinct is to imagine ourselves hiding from them. We picture fences, armored vehicles, dangerous parks, farms protected from giant predators, highways stopped by migrating sauropods, cities built with dinosaur-proof barriers. Those images are entertaining. But scientifically, the more likely first question is whether there would be anyone like us to build the fence. The longer we follow the alternate timeline, the harder it becomes to smuggle Homo sapiens back into it unchanged. Our species is not a separate event floating above ecology. We are ecology. Our bones, hands, eyes, metabolism, social behavior, childhood, and brains are the accumulated result of a particular evolutionary history. Change the ecosystems for 66 million years, and you change the conditions that made us. So in the most conservative version of tonight's scenario, there are no people. But perhaps that answer feels too final. Let's open one narrower door. Suppose a primate like mammal did emerge in Africa. Suppose it became social, dexterous, increasingly terrestrial, and eventually capable of stone tool use. Suppose, against the enormous odds of alternate history, a hominin-like lineage appears. What would it be like to become intelligent in a world still dominated by large dinosaurs? The first tools would matter enormously. Stone flakes could butcher carcasses, process plants, and open marrow. Fire could protect camps, alter food, and frighten some predators. Cooperative groups could defend themselves against animals too dangerous for one individual. But the ecological pressure would be extreme. Early humans in our timeline already lived among large predators: lions, leopards, hyenas, crocodiles, and giant eagles. They were not born into a gentle world. Add large theropod predators, and the challenge increases, but perhaps not in the simplistic way movies suggest. A 20-year-old predator that weighs several tons cannot live at high density. Large carnivores need enormous territories and abundant prey. Most human encounters would probably involve smaller predators, just as most dangerous wildlife encounters today do not involve the largest possible carnivore on the continent. Fire becomes even more important. So does group vigilance. Settlements are chosen carefully. Cliffs, islands, shallow water crossings, and defensible terrain may shape human-like culture. Night fires remain bright. Children learn tracks before they learn formal numbers. A migration of giant herbivores could be both threat and opportunity. People might follow herds for scavenging, eggs, dung fuel, insects, and information about water. They might avoid nesting grounds during breeding season. The first calendars could be ecological, built around dinosaur migrations. Language would fill with them, not with the Latin-derived names we invented after fossils were discovered, but with ancient ordinary words for animals people had always known. A large herbivore would not be a dinosaur to these people. It would simply be an animal. Just as we do not usually look at a pigeon and think, there goes a theropod dinosaur. Cultural familiarity changes fear. People living beside elephants know signs of elephant behavior that outsiders miss. Arctic hunters understand animals through generations of accumulated observation. A human-like species coexisting with dinosaurs for hundreds of thousands of years would develop equally deep ecological knowledge. They would know which herbivores bluff before charging, which nesting colonies must never be approached from downwind, which small feathered predators are attracted to food scraps, which calls mean a large carnivore is nearby, which migrations indicate rain hundreds of kilometers away. Some species might even be domesticated. That idea deserves care. Domestication is not the same as taming an individual animal. It is an evolutionary relationship created by generations of selective breeding. Humans domesticated wolves, cattle, horses, chickens, goats, and many other species because particular combinations of social behavior, diet, reproduction, growth rate, and tolerance made the relationship workable. Many dinosaurs would be terrible candidates. A massive territorial predator with slow maturation would be impractical and dangerous. A giant sauropod descendant would require too much space. But a small social herbivore, an omnivorous feathered dinosaur, or a ground-nesting species with rapid growth might be possible. In fact, our world already contains a reminder. We domesticated dinosaurs. Chickens are dinosaurs. So the question is not whether dinosaur domestication is biologically absurd. It has already happened. The question is which other surviving lineages would possess traits humans could work with. Imagine a village on this alternate Earth. Small feathered dinosaur descendants scratch through the dust around homes, bred for eggs, meat, feathers, or pest control. A larger herd species is kept beyond a fence, not unlike goats or cattle, selected over centuries for calmer behavior and manageable body size. Beyond the settlement, wild giants move across the horizon. Now agriculture becomes more difficult. A field of grain represents concentrated calories, and concentrated calories attract animals. Farmers in our world already lose crops to elephants, deer, wild pigs, birds, rodents, and insects. In a dinosaur world, crop defense might shape architecture and social organization from the beginning. Walls become stronger. Watchtowers appear earlier. Some crops are planted near settlements so people can defend them. Others are chosen because local herbivores dislike their taste. The history of civilization could grow around the problem of sharing land with megafauna that humans never managed to eliminate. Or perhaps humans do eliminate much of it. That possibility may be more realistic than a peaceful, permanent coexistence. When Homo sapiens spread across our own planet, many large animals disappeared, especially on continents where they had not co-evolved with humans. The exact balance of climate and human hunting differs by region and remains debated, but our species clearly became an extraordinary ecological force. If a human-like species arose on dinosaur Earth and developed projectile weapons, fire, traps, agriculture, and eventually firearms, large dinosaur populations could decline rapidly. The irony would be profound. The asteroid misses. The dinosaurs survive another 65 million years. And then intelligence evolves and begins creating an extinction of its own. Perhaps the modern world would contain dinosaur reserves instead of dinosaur fossils. Conservationists would argue about whether a shrinking migratory herbivore population needs protected corridors. Farmers would complain about crop damage. Ranchers would demand predator control. Poachers might target horns, crests, feathers, eggs, or ornamental structures. A giant predator could become endangered not because it is weak, but because it requires huge territory and frightens people. There might be documentaries filmed from armored vehicles. Children might learn the difference between wild and domesticated dinosaurs before they learn the names of distant continents. And somewhere, a biologist might be fighting to save the last surviving branch of a lineage that once crossed the Cretaceous. That version of the story brings us uncomfortably close to our own world. Because surviving an asteroid does not guarantee surviving intelligence. There is another branch we should consider before returning to the quieter, humanless Earth. What if the intelligence belongs to the dinosaurs themselves? Not a reptilian copy of us. Something genuinely different. Imagine that small omnivorous theropod lineage again. For millions of years it has been selected for memory, flexible foraging, social learning, and manipulation. Its descendants live in groups with complicated relationships. Juveniles take years to master adult behavior. Individuals recognize one another. They cooperate, compete, reconcile, and learn local traditions. One population discovers that stones dropped repeatedly on hard-shelled food are useful. Another discovers that fibrous plant stems can probe holes for insects. A third learns that after a natural wildfire, some foods are easier to digest and predators avoid smoking ground. The crucial breakthrough is not one genius animal. It is cumulative culture. A behavior survives its inventor. Then it improves. That is the strange engine behind human technology. No individual person invented language, fire, stone tools, farming, writing, mathematics, and electricity. Each generation inherited a scaffold built by generations before it. Could a dinosaur lineage do the same? Biology does not forbid it, but neither does biology promise it. Suppose their forelimbs retain 3 mobile digits capable of holding objects against the palm like inner surface. Suppose their beaks can stabilize materials while the hands work. Suppose vocal anatomy allows a broad range of sounds. Or perhaps they communicate partly through body posture, feather displays, and calls. Their first technology may look nothing like ours. A species with excellent color vision and display feathers might encode information visually before it develops complex drawn symbols. A species that uses nests as social centers might build permanent communal structures before it builds individual homes. A species that lays eggs may organize family relationships around shared nesting grounds rather than private households. Fire is still difficult. Feathers burn. An animal covered in filamentous plumage would approach open flame carefully. Yet intelligence can turn danger into tool. Perhaps fire is maintained at a distance, inside stone-lined pits. Perhaps bare-faced individuals specialize in tending it. Perhaps controlled fire begins not for cooking, but to manage vegetation around nesting colonies and keep large predators away. Once fire is controlled, chemistry begins almost accidentally. Clay hardens. Certain stones fracture differently after heating. Metals appear as strange droplets in hot furnaces only much later. If such a civilization developed, The entire night sky of our alternate 2026 could glow after all, but its cities would not need to resemble ours. Their streets might be broad because citizens have long balancing tails. Buildings might contain ramps rather than stairs if body posture makes climbing differently efficient. Doorways might be wide and low. Public spaces might center on sunlit courtyards because thermoregulation and social display remain important even in warm-blooded descendants. If they retained egg-laying, hospitals and family law would develop around biology very different from ours. If they matured slowly, education might last decades. If they could see ultraviolet patterns in feathers, art would include colors invisible to human eyes. Their music might involve frequencies our ears would barely register. Their mathematics could still discover the same relationships, because triangles and prime numbers do not depend on mammals. Their astronomy would still find the same planets. And sooner or later, their geologists might discover a thin layer in ancient rocks representing a disaster that never happened. Actually, they would not. There would be no global Chicxulub ejecta layer at 66 million years. There would be no crater buried beneath the Yucatan recording the end of the Mesozoic. Their paleontology would tell a different story, not sudden disappearance, but continuous transformation. Perhaps one of their scientists would notice that dinosaur diversity changed sharply during later climate events. Perhaps they would debate whether certain ancient lineages had already been declining before the near-miss asteroid passed silently beyond Earth. They would have no evidence that the asteroid ever existed. Only we do, because we are standing outside the hypothetical. That gives tonight's thought experiment an almost eerie quality. The single event deciding whether their civilization ever exists leaves no trace in their rocks. History can be shaped by events that never become history because they never happen. But technological dinosaur civilization is one of the most speculative branches of our story, so let us not let it swallow the more defensible biological picture. Return to the Earth with no technological species. It is evening in an alternate North America. There are no roads, no power lines, no fences. A storm has just passed, and water shines in low places between trees. Small insects rise into humid air. A flock of birds moves through the canopy. Beneath them, a feathered terrestrial dinosaur no larger than a fox searches fallen branches for lizards and beetles. The scene reminds us that dinosaur survival would not mean a planet covered entirely in giants. Most species are usually not gigantic. Small bodies reproduce faster, need less food, hide more easily, and exploit tiny ecological spaces. Even during the Mesozoic, dinosaurs range from animals smaller than a chicken to the largest terrestrial creatures ever known. After 66 million more years, that range could become even broader. There might be burrowing dinosaurs, semi-aquatic dinosaurs, desert specialists that shelter from daytime heat, alpine species with dense feathers and powerful lungs, island dwarfs small enough to move through dense vegetation, island giants that evolved where food and predator pressures allowed them, seed eaters with powerful beaks, fruit specialists that spread forests through their droppings, insect hunters with enormous ears or facial structures tuned for sound. No one can predict the exact forms, but evolution repeatedly produces similar functional solutions when organisms encounter similar problems. This is convergent evolution. Ichthyosaurs evolved bodies resembling fish and dolphins. Birds and bats independently evolved powered flight. Sharks and dolphins resemble each other in outline despite distant ancestry. Eyes evolved multiple times. So our dinosaur Earth might contain animals that look strangely familiar in ecological role while remaining anatomically dinosaurian. A small fleet-footed herbivore could occupy something like the gazelle niche. A compact omnivore might behave somewhat like a wild pig. A climbing feathered dinosaur could function ecologically like a monkey without looking remotely mammalian. A large river ambush predator might compete with crocodilians, and crocodilians themselves would still be here. They survived the real KPG extinction, and without the impact, they continue evolving alongside everyone else. The planet would not become a dinosaur monopoly. Turtles remain. Lizards and snakes remain. Amphibians remain. Fish diversify. Insects continue their immense evolutionary experiments. Birds flourish. Mammals adapt. Dinosaurs remain dominant in many terrestrial niches, but dominance is not exclusivity. This matters because ecosystems are networks, not kingdoms. The phrase age of dinosaurs can make it sound as though one group owned the planet for 165 million years. In reality, every dinosaur depended on plants, fungi, microbes, insects, water, climate, and thousands of other organisms. A tyrannosaur could be enormous and still depend on bacteria in its gut. A sauropod could reshape a forest and still depend on tiny plants capturing sunlight. The most powerful animal in an ecosystem is never independent from the smallest processes keeping that ecosystem alive. And as those networks change, dinosaurs change with them. Consider flowering plants. They were already diversifying dramatically in the Cretaceous. Their relationships with insects, herbivores, and seed dispersers continued after the extinction in our world. In the alternate world, large dinosaurs remain major agents of plant evolution. Some plants may evolve tougher bark or chemical defenses against browsing. Others may benefit from being eaten because seeds survive passage through a dinosaur digestive system and are deposited kilometers away with fertilizer. Trees in heavily browsed regions might grow rapidly above the reach of medium herbivores or branch in ways that make foliage difficult to strip. Fruit size could evolve around dinosaur mouths instead of mammalian mouths. Imagine a tropical fruit too large for any monkey that ever existed in our world, its seeds dispersed by a 1-ton beaked herbivore. Imagine flowers pollinated by birds while their seeds depend on terrestrial dinosaurs. Imagine entire forest communities structured around migration routes tens of millions of years old. Then imagine one of those routes blocked by a volcanic eruption. The herd turns east. Seeds move east with it. A forest changes centuries later. Evolutionary history is built from consequences like these, so small in any single year that no creature notices the world becoming different. The oceans have their own version of this story. If marine reptile lineages survive, they face the same cooling transitions, changing currents, and shifts in prey. Warm, adapted giants disappear from high latitudes. Other forms evolve insulation, altered metabolism, or seasonal migration. Could a marine reptile evolve something analogous to blubber? Possibly. Could live birth become even more widespread? Marine reptiles had already evolved live birth in several lineages, so that pathway is available. Could some become enormous filter feeders? There is no certainty, but the ecological opportunity exists wherever plankton blooms become predictable enough to support giant bodies. If whales never dominate the oceans, some reptilian lineage might eventually exploit the same energy-rich niche. So picture an alternate Antarctic summer. The sea is cold and dark blue. Icebergs drift northward. Cold, adapted seabirds, dinosaur descendants in their own right, gather near the water. Far offshore, something enormous surfaces. It is not a whale. Its ancestry reaches back to marine reptiles that survived the mist catastrophe. It breathes air, dives deep, and follows seasonal productivity around the Southern Ocean. Above it circles a seabird. Farther inland, feathered terrestrial dinosaurs move along an ice-free coastal valley. The scene would have been impossible in the late Cretaceous exactly as shown. But 66 million years is enough time to make the impossible ordinary. There is another part of dinosaur life that would shape this alternate future more than their teeth or claws. Eggs. Every non-avian dinosaur we know reproduced by laying eggs, although the details varied enormously between groups. Some species built nests. Some brooded in bird-like postures. Some returned repeatedly to colonial nesting grounds. Fossils preserve adults associated with juveniles and, in certain groups, compelling evidence of parental care. That means the future of dinosaur evolution is also the future of dinosaur family life. Picture a nesting colony on an open coastal plain 5 million years ago. Thousands of animals arrive within a few weeks of one another. They have traveled to the same region their parents used, perhaps following environmental cues and social memory. The ground is covered in shallow nests separated by only a few body lengths. Calls overlap continuously. Adults recognize neighbors, rivals, partners, perhaps even individual offspring. Predators wait beyond the colony because nesting season creates a temporary abundance of vulnerable eggs and young. For the herbivores, reproduction creates a strange life history advantage compared with many large mammals. An elephant produces one calf after a long pregnancy and invests enormously in it. A large dinosaur could potentially lay a clutch of multiple eggs. The hatchlings begin tiny relative to the adult and grow through very different ecological stages. This means a single dinosaur species may occupy several niches during one lifetime. A hatchling eats different food and fears different predators from a 10-ton adult. Juveniles may move in separate groups. Adolescents may live at forest edges while adults feed in open country. That flexibility could make some dinosaur populations surprisingly resilient after regional disasters. A drought may kill many adults but leave eggs or juveniles in refuges. A volcanic winter may devastate nesting success for several seasons, yet not erase the lineage. A flood may destroy one colony while another hundreds of kilometers away survives. But egg-laying also creates vulnerabilities. Nesting grounds can be destroyed by sudden climate shifts. Temperatures can influence embryo development in some reptiles. Predators can specialize on eggs. Disease can spread through dense colonies. Over millions of years, these pressures could produce new reproductive strategies. Some lineages might reduce clutch size and increase parental investment, following a path already visible in theropods close to birds. Others might continue laying many eggs with little parental care, relying on numbers rather than protection. Nesting behavior could become one of the great evolutionary differences separating dinosaur groups in the modern world. And sociality could become equally diverse. Fossils already show evidence that some dinosaurs lived in herds, nested communally, and may have separated age groups within those herds. Given another 66 million years, social behavior has enormous room to elaborate. Imagine a herd in which older individuals remember migration routes across decades. Imagine juveniles learning feeding techniques from particular adults. Imagine males or females displaying crests whose shapes have been exaggerated through sexual selection until they become structures no Cretaceous ancestor possessed. Imagine seasonal gatherings so large that they can be seen from kilometers away, with calls rolling across valleys like thunder. Many dinosaur skulls contained elaborate nasal passages, crests, horns, frills, or resonating structures. Some of those structures almost certainly serve display, recognition, combat, sound, or combinations of functions. The modern dinosaur world might therefore be extremely noisy, not the endless movie roar we associate with predators. Real animal landscapes are filled with communication. Deep booming contact calls between herd members, short alarm notes, courtship sounds, juvenile begging, territorial calls before dawn, wing and feather noises in smaller species. Perhaps infrasound from very large animals traveling farther than human hearing could easily detect. The visual world might be just as rich. Fossil melanosums have given scientists glimpses of coloration in some feathered dinosaurs, showing that at least certain species carried patterns and colors. Living birds demonstrate how far dinosaur coloration can go when sexual selection acts for millions of years. So forget the permanently olive-green dinosaur world of older paintings. Some descendants may be beautifully patterned. A small forest theropod could flash iridescent feathers during courtship. A herbivore might carry contrasting facial patches used for recognition. Juveniles could be camouflaged even when adults are bright. Desert species may reflect sunlight with pale coverings. Polar animals may become seasonally white. The planet would not merely contain different animals. It would look different at the level of color and movement, and it would smell different too. Huge nesting colonies produce enormous quantities of waste. Migrating herds disturb soil. Carrion from giant animals feeds entire temporary ecosystems. Dung supports insects, fungi, and scavengers. A single dead megaherbivore can provide food for weeks. That creates opportunities for mammals. Perhaps some of the most successful mammals on dinosaur Earth are scavengers and commensals, animals that live near dinosaur colonies the way rats, foxes, gulls, and insects exploit human settlements today. A clever mammal could learn to follow nesting herds because broken eggs are abundant. Another might specialize in parasites removed from dinosaur skin. Small nocturnal mammals could burrow beneath nesting colonies and steal eggs when adults are distracted. Dinosaurs would shape mammalian evolution not only through competition, but by creating resources. The relationship might become intimate. Consider oxpecker-like animals living on large herbivores. In our world, birds pick ticks and insects from mammals. On alternate Earth, perhaps mammals evolved to feed on parasites living between dinosaur scales and feathers. Or birds perform the service, exactly as they do for mammals here. A giant herbivore walks through grass, with several small animals riding along its back. Nothing about the scene needs human intelligence to be complex. Complexity comes naturally when species have millions of years to interact. Disease would evolve through these relationships as well. Viruses, bacteria, fungi, and parasites do not care that dinosaurs are impressive. Dense herds and colonial nesting sites can allow pathogens to spread rapidly. A disease that barely affects one species may devastate another after crossing ecological boundaries. So some of the great extinction events in this alternate world might be biological rather than geological. Imagine a highly contagious respiratory pathogen moving through a migratory dinosaur population. Adults begin arriving late at nesting grounds. Juvenile survival drops. Scavengers increase. Predators temporarily flourish because weakened prey are easier to catch. A few populations carry resistance. Decades later, those populations expand into emptied range. The species survives, but its genetics and behavior change. Evolution is not always grand. Sometimes it is a fever surviving long enough to become ancestry. Now consider fire. Long before humans, lightning ignited landscapes. Plants evolved with fire. Some ecosystems depend on periodic burning. Large herbivores can change fire behavior by consuming vegetation that would otherwise become fuel. Dinosaurs, as ecosystem engineers, might alter the global geography of fire. A region heavily browsed by megaherbivores accumulates less undergrowth. Another region abandoned after a population crash grows dense and burns intensely during drought. These fire patterns then favor different plants, which change herbivore distributions again. The planet is full of loops like this. That is why predicting exact dinosaur evolution for 66 million years is impossible. Change the animal, and you change the plants. Change the plants, and you change fire. Change fire, and you change soil. Change soil, and you change rivers. Change rivers, and you change where animals can live. A missed asteroid does not create one alternate outcome. it releases an entire cascade. Some differences grow slowly enough to remain almost invisible for millions of years. Others become enormous. By the modern day, even atmospheric chemistry might differ slightly because vegetation patterns, wildfire, soils, and ocean ecosystems differ from ours. The continents remain in similar positions, but the biosphere has been rewriting the boundary conditions of climate continuously. Would global temperatures be dramatically different? Probably not simply because dinosaurs exist. Tectonics, orbital forcing, carbon cycling, and solar evolution remain powerful drivers. But regional climates and carbon storage could differ enough to alter details we cannot predict. A forest that exists in our world might be savanna in theirs. A wetland might persist because giant herbivores keep channels open. A desert boundary might sit farther east because vegetation feedbacks alter rainfall locally. These are not movie-scale differences. They are the quiet consequences from which real alternate worlds are made. If we could travel across this modern dinosaur Earth, every continent would tell the same history differently. Start in South America. For long stretches of the real Cenozoic, South America was geographically isolated, and that isolation produced an extraordinary mammalian fauna before later interchange with North America. In our alternate timeline, isolation still matters, but the cast is different. Some dinosaur lineages that vanish elsewhere may survive here for tens of millions of years, protected by geography. Titanosaur descendants could remain important large herbivores long after similar forms disappear in the north. Abelisaur-like predators, if their lineages persist, might evolve into specialized hunters with short, powerful skulls and body plans shaped by local prey. Isolation often preserves the strange. Madagascar demonstrates that in our own world. Australia does too. So now travel to Australia. The continent drifts northward after separating from Antarctica. Climate changes from cool southern forests toward increasingly dry interiors. Mammals in our world evolved marsupial lions, giant wombat relatives, kangaroos, and many other distinctive forms there. On Dinosaur Earth, Australia might become a laboratory of dinosaur isolation. Perhaps descendants of small ornithopods persist in southern forests, then radiate as the continent dries. Some become fast open country herbivores with elastic tendons and long hind limbs. Others remain forest browsers. Predatory theropods track them across expanding drylands. The Australian interior could contain dinosaur equivalents of desert specialists, animals active mostly at dawn and dusk, sheltering in shade during extreme heat. Would anything evolve that hops like a kangaroo? Possibly, though there is no reason it must. Evolution sometimes finds similar solutions, but it does not repeat designs on command. What Australia almost certainly would not contain is the exact marsupial fauna we know, because their history depends on millions of interactions unique to our timeline. Then move north into Asia. Mountain building creates one of the greatest barriers on the planet. The collision of India with Asia raises the Himalaya and Tibetan Plateau, altering wind and rainfall. Monsoon systems develop. Central Asia becomes increasingly arid in places. Dinosaurs must navigate altitude. High-elevation lineages evolve efficient respiratory physiology. Here their archosaur heritage might offer useful raw material. Birds possess extraordinarily effective flow through lungs supported by air sacs, and evidence suggests many non-avian theropods and sauropods had related respiratory anatomy. A descendant lineage adapting to thin mountain air would therefore begin from a different respiratory architecture than mammals. Imagine a feathered herbivore crossing a high plateau, breathing through a lung system refined across tens of millions of years. Behind it rise mountains no dinosaur of the Cretaceous ever saw. Predators follow seasonal passes. Nesting colonies occur only where snow melts early enough. Some populations become isolated on opposite sides of mountain ranges, and eventually become separate species. The Himalaya does not care whether the animals climbing it are mammals or dinosaurs. Geography continues writing evolution. Now Africa. Without humans, the continent remains home to enormous areas of intact habitat, but not necessarily to the mammals we associate with Africa today. There may be no lions, giraffes, zebras, elephants, or wildebeest in recognizable form. Instead, dinosaur megafauna dominate many large terrestrial roles. Picture dawn on an African savanna. Grass shines with dew. Acacia-like trees rise above low vegetation, though even the plant community may differ from ours. A herd of beaked herbivorous dinosaurs moves toward water. Smaller species follow behind, feeding on disturbed insects. A tall, browsing dinosaur reaches foliage 5 meters above the ground without needing the long mammalian neck of a giraffe. A large feathered predator rests in shade after hunting at night. The scene feels ancient only because our minds associate dinosaurs with ancient time. To the organisms living there, it is completely modern. They have never known another world. Now Europe. Europe's repeated geological fragmentation into islands during earlier eras produced unusual dinosaur faunas even in the Mesozoic. Later connections and climate cycles would repeatedly mix and isolate populations. Modern Europe might contain smaller-bodied dinosaur lineages shaped by island histories, alongside migrants arriving from Asia during periods of land connection. Forests could hold compact omnivorous dinosaurs that have learned to exploit seasonal nuts and fruits. Wetlands might support wading forms descended from lineages we cannot confidently predict. Large herbivores would migrate across plains where cities such as Paris, Berlin, and Warsaw never exist. There is something strangely peaceful in imagining the Danube without bridges. Not empty, alive in a different way. A herd crosses in shallow water. Fish scatter beneath their feet. Pterosaurs, or large birds, circle overhead. The river continues east toward a sea no empire ever named. Then North America. Here the emotional contrast is strongest because so many famous late Cretaceous dinosaurs come from its rocks. But again, do not place Tyrannosaurus beside a modern highway. There is no highway, and Tyrannosaurus itself is almost certainly gone. Instead, the continent contains descendants layered upon descendants. The Rockies stand higher and more eroded than they did at the end of the Cretaceous. The Great Plains developed through changing climate and vegetation. Glaciers repeatedly covered the north. River systems shifted. A dinosaur lineage surviving here must pass every test. One branch of large herbivores becomes specialized for grassland migrations. Another remains tied to forests. A small omnivorous theropod thrives around riverbanks and becomes one of the most widespread animals on the continent because it can eat almost anything. Its intelligence is modest but flexible. It watches other species. It remembers human-sized amounts of landscape, though there are no humans for comparison. If a storm exposes turtle eggs, it finds them. If a herd disturbs insects, it follows. If a wildfire passes, it searches the edge for stunned prey. Generalists often survive because they do not require the world to remain exactly one way. Now the Arctic. This may be the most surprising region of all. During parts of the Cretaceous, dinosaurs already lived at very high latitudes. They endured strong seasonality and prolonged winter darkness even in climates warmer than today. Modern descendants would face far greater cold, especially during glacial periods. So the Arctic becomes a place of extreme specialization. Small feathered species tunnel into snow or shelter in dense vegetation. Large herbivores carry thick insulating coverings and migrate enormous distances. Some may reduce activity during the darkest months. Others remain active, relying on stored fat and low-quality winter forage. Predators develop broad feet for snow. Nostrils and airways help warm incoming air. Juveniles hatch late enough to exploit short summers. The annual return of sunlight triggers migrations and breeding behavior on continental scales. If we stood there during polar night, the world would be almost completely dark. Stars fill the sky. An aurora moves green across the horizon. Then, somewhere beyond sight, comes a low call. Another answers. A herd is moving through darkness. No mammoth ever evolved, yet the emotional effect would be strangely familiar. Huge, warm-bodied animals crossing frozen ground beneath the aurora. Finally, the islands. Islands are where evolution becomes especially inventive. Large species often become smaller because resources are limited. Small species can become larger when predators disappear. Flight can be lost. Behavior changes rapidly under isolation. Dinosaur islands would produce some of the strangest descendants on the planet. A tiny herbivore on a Mediterranean island might weigh only a few kilograms despite descending from ancestors hundreds of times larger. A ground-dwelling bird becomes flightless because terrestrial predators never reach its island. A small theropod lineage loses fear and becomes vulnerable if any new predator arrives. And if a technological species ever develops ocean travel, islands become the first places where its ecological power becomes unmistakable. Introduced mammals, rats, domesticated dinosaurs, diseases, or hunting could erase island lineages that survived 60 million years in isolation. Again, the same lesson returns. Deep time does not make a species invulnerable. Survival is always conditional. Even a lineage that outlives mountains can be ended by one new competitor arriving on a boat. There is also a geological irony hidden in this world. Without the KPG extinction as we know it, geologists in a technological dinosaur civilization would divide Earth's history differently. The boundary at 66 million years ago would not mark the abrupt disappearance of so much life. The Mesozoic might not end there at all. Our names for eras would make little sense. The age of reptiles followed by the age of mammals is a story written after the fact. In this timeline, there may be no age of mammals. There might instead be a long dinosaur-dominated era stretching across more than 200 million years, subdivided by climate transitions, continental reorganizations, and evolutionary turnovers we have never named. That is perhaps the biggest conceptual change of all. The asteroid did not merely kill animals. It helped create the chapters through which we understand Earth's history. There is a temptation, when imagining all of this, to treat the missed asteroid as a gift to dinosaurs and a loss to mammals. Evolution is not that moral. The asteroid in our world killed with extraordinary indifference. It did not reward mammals because they deserved a future. Many mammals died too. It did not punish dinosaurs for being obsolete. Birds survived because certain combinations of body size, ecology, diet, reproduction, and chance allowed some lineages through the catastrophe. Crocodilians, turtles, amphibians, fish, plants, plankton, and countless other organisms passed through different filters. The survivors inherited opportunities because others were gone. That is what mass extinction does. It is destruction followed by ecological vacancy. So if Chicxulub misses, the alternate world may preserve more continuity but produce less opportunity for some later groups. Neither outcome is progress. They are histories. This becomes especially clear when we think about birds. It might seem that a world full of surviving non-avian dinosaurs would simply add extra dinosaurs to all the birds we know today. Probably not. Modern bird diversity itself unfolded after the KPG boundary. Ecological release, changing forests, competition, geography, and later climate all shaped which bird branches survived and diversified. If pterosaurs and many non-avian dinosaurs remain, bird evolution faces different competitors from its very beginning. There may be no crows, no parrots, no ostriches, no penguins in exactly their present form. Perhaps lineages with comparable lifestyles evolve, but even the surviving dinosaurs of our world would be rewritten by the survival of their relatives. This is a useful reminder that alternate history is not additive. You cannot keep everything from our world and simply restore everything that was lost. The pieces interact. Restore one branch, and many later branches change. The same is true for mammals. There may be no horses, even though some fast-running herbivorous mammal could evolve. No cats, even though small mammalian predators could exist. No bats in the exact forms we know, though mammalian flight might still evolve because gliding and aerial insect hunting remain valuable ecological possibilities. No whales as we know them, though some mammals might still return to water. And likely no chimpanzees, because their ancestry is bound to the same contingent primate tree that eventually produced us. The ordinary animals of our world are just as historically fragile as dinosaurs. A cow is not inevitable. A dog is not inevitable. A human is not inevitable. Now consider another question. Would dinosaurs still be enormous? Some probably would. Large body size offers real advantages. Protection from many predators, efficient digestion of low-quality plants, longer fasting capacity, and access to food unavailable to smaller animals. Dinosaurs evolved gigantic bodies repeatedly, especially among sauropods, and nothing about the end of the Cretaceous means giant size would suddenly become impossible. But modern dinosaur ecosystems would likely contain far more small and medium species than the museum stereotype suggests. Large animals are easier to fossilize, easier to notice, and more dramatic to display. That biases our imagination. Walk through a real forest today, and most vertebrates are not elephants or bears. They are small birds, rodents, reptiles, amphibians, and fish. The same ecological arithmetic would apply on alternate Earth. A person somehow transported there would spend far more time seeing small feathered dinosaurs dart through brush than watching 30-ton giants cross the horizon. Many large lineages might also shrink during climate transitions or on islands. Others might grow larger when ecological conditions favor it. Body size would be a moving target, not a preserved Cretaceous trait. Would dinosaurs be warm-blooded? That question is already too simple for the real animals. Evidence suggests dinosaur metabolism varied among lineages and often operated at levels unlike the old image of uniformly sluggish, cold-blooded reptiles. Many dinosaurs grew rapidly. Theropods close to birds possessed insulation. Birds inherited high metabolic rates from dinosaur ancestors. Sauropods sustained extraordinary growth and activity. Over another 66 million years, metabolic diversity could broaden further. Cold climate species may evolve high, stable metabolic rates. Desert species may reduce energy expenditure during harsh seasons. Large animals may use body size to buffer temperature. Small active predators may function much like modern birds physiologically. There is no single modern dinosaur metabolism. Just as a hummingbird and a crocodile differ despite both belonging to Archosaur, dinosaur descendants would explore many physiological strategies. Would they become more intelligent? Some almost certainly would become more intelligent in particular ways, because intelligence evolves repeatedly when it helps solve ecological problems. Others might become less cognitively demanding specialists. Evolution does not reward brain size for its own sake. A lineage feeding on abundant vegetation may gain more from better digestion than from a larger brain. A predator may gain more from improved smell, camouflage, or acceleration. A social omnivore in a changing environment may gain much more from learning and memory. So the modern world could include astonishingly clever dinosaur species beside others driven largely by inherited routines. Exactly as our world contains ravens and chickens, apes and grazing cattle, octopuses and jellyfish. Complexity does not spread evenly. Now imagine one of the cleverest dinosaur species standing beside a river. It has never seen a tool made by another species. It notices floating nuts collecting behind a branch. It pulls the branch closer. The nuts come within reach. Tomorrow it repeats the action. A juvenile watching nearby learns faster than it would alone. Nothing about this scene guarantees a city 10 million years later. But something important has happened. Information has moved from one mind to another. That process is ancient, powerful, and not uniquely human. Perhaps dinosaur Earth would be filled with cultures no archaeologist ever records. Migration traditions, nest building styles, local tool use, learned songs, hunting techniques, courtship displays, knowledge carried by living individuals rather than written pages. A culture can be real even if it leaves almost no fossil trace. That thought changes how we look back at actual dinosaurs too. Fossils preserve bones beautifully compared with behavior. A trackway may reveal a group moving together. A nest may preserve parental behavior. A brooding skeleton may capture one moment of care. But no fossil can easily tell us whether a juvenile learned a route by following its mother or whether two populations used different calls. The real Mesozoic may already have contained behavioral complexity we will never recover. Our alternate timeline simply gives that complexity more time. There is another danger waiting in deep time. The asteroid misses, but Earth remains in a solar system full of asteroids and comets. Another large impact could occur later. None known in the last 66 million years matches Chicxulub in destructive power, but our hypothetical requires only that no later event completely eliminates the surviving dinosaur branches before the present. Large volcanic provinces could also threaten them. Rapid climate change could erase many lineages. Ocean circulation could reorganize. Super eruptions could devastate regions. Disease could spread across continents. So by saying dinosaurs never went extinct, we are granting the group survival, not safety. They may experience repeated crises. Perhaps at one point only a handful of non-avian dinosaur lineages remain. One population survives in Asian forests. Another persists in South America. A third survives in cold northern habitats. Millions of years later, they diversify again. The modern richness of dinosaur Earth could therefore be built from bottlenecks, just as modern mammalian diversity was. Survival through deep time is rarely a smooth line. It is a thread pulled through disasters. And every time the thread nearly breaks, the future changes again. At this point, after so much deep time, it may help to stop moving through millions of years and spend just one day in the world we have created. Not in the Cretaceous. Today, an alternate today. The place is East Africa, close to the equator at the beginning of a dry season. Before sunrise, the sky is the same sky you know. Orion is already set. Venus is bright near the horizon. The moon hangs above a line of distant hills. Nothing in astronomy reveals that life below followed another path. In the grass, something small wakes. It is a feathered dinosaur about the size of a house cat, though its body is longer because of the tail. It has slept inside a shallow shelter beneath tangled roots with 3 other members of its social group. They are omnivores. Their lineage has spent millions of years becoming good at surviving around larger animals. The first one lifts its head and listens. A low vibration carries through the ground. The herd is already moving. Far across the plain, several hundred herbivorous dinosaurs are traveling toward water. The largest adults weigh multiple tons. They are not sauropods and not hadrosaurs in the strict Cretaceous sense. Their ancestors branched from one of those great herbivore traditions so long ago that classification has become complicated. Their bodies carry history without preserving appearance. Young animals remain toward the center. Adults on the edges scan for predators. Several smaller bird species feed around their feet, catching insects flushed from grass. Our small omnivore knows the herd is useful. It follows. This behavior was learned. Young animals that follow adults discover that herds uncover food, disturb insects, and occasionally leave broken eggs or scraps behind. The knowledge passes socially. Different groups follow different species. One population in a valley 200 kilometers away has developed another strategy entirely, waiting near riverbanks for fish stranded by large animals crossing shallow water. No written history records these traditions, but tradition exists. Sunrise spreads orange light across the plain. Now color appears. Several adult herbivores have bright patches on their necks used during breeding season. A smaller species nearby carries stiff, filamentous structures along its back that rise when alarmed. Birds call from scattered trees. Then every head turns at once. Something is moving through the grass. The predator is large, but not gigantic. It weighs perhaps 400 kilograms, enough to kill most animals in the ecosystem, but small enough to survive on more frequent prey than a multi-ton hunter could. Its hind limbs are long. The tail balances each stride. Feathers cover much of the torso, while the lower legs remain mostly bare. It does not roar. It watches. The herd sees it too. For several minutes, nothing happens. Predation is often waiting. The hunter does not waste energy charging healthy adults. It looks for a juvenile separated from protection, an injured animal, something slow. The herd tightens. One adult turns broadside and lowers its head. The predator eventually walks away. The tension dissolves almost immediately. Herbivores resume feeding. Small birds return to the disturbed grass. Our little omnivore approaches a patch of insects and begins eating. No battle, no dramatic kill. Most encounters between predators and prey end this way because energy matters. The dinosaur world is not a continuous arena. It is an ecosystem in which every animal is trying to make the next hour worthwhile. By mid-morning, heat begins rising from the ground. The herd reaches a river. Here another dinosaur waits in the shade. It is a tall, browsing species with a narrow head adapted to select leaves from thorny vegetation. Its ancestors may have belonged to a completely different branch from the grazing herd. Yet both are products of the same uninterrupted dinosaur history. Along the muddy bank are tracks from mammals. One belongs to a nocturnal burrowing herbivore about the size of a badger. Another belongs to a semi-aquatic mammal that enters the river at night and feeds on roots. Mammals are not rare. They are simply not the largest actors in this scene. A pterosaur descendant glides overhead. Maybe. This is one of the more uncertain elements of our alternate world because we do not know whether pterosaurs would successfully persist through all later ecological transitions. But if a branch did, this river valley could support a medium-sized soaring form that feeds on fish and carrion. Its shadow passes across the water. Several small dinosaurs look up. The herd drinks. Then there is sudden movement near the bank. A crocodilian surges forward. The juvenile it targets escapes, splashing back toward the adults. The crocodilian stops after only a short pursuit. Crocodiles survive the real asteroid. On this Earth, they never lost the dinosaurs beside them. Their own lineages have changed, but the ancient relationship between crocodilian ambush predator and dinosaur prey continues into the present. By noon, the plain is hot enough that activity slows. Large herbivores rest in shade or stand facing the wind. The small omnivores retreat beneath vegetation. Predators sleep. And this quiet middle of the day allows us to notice plants. The trees do not exactly match the trees of our East Africa. 66 million years of different browsing pressure has altered plant evolution. Some species defend their leaves with toxins. Others grow thorns at heights corresponding to the mouths of common herbivores. Certain fruits are unusually large, their seeds adapted to survive passage through dinosaur digestive tracts. One tree produces fruit that falls only after fully ripening. A herbivore swallows it almost whole. Tomorrow the seed may be 15 kilometers away. The plant has turned a dinosaur into transportation. In the afternoon, clouds build. A storm approaches from the east. Wind changes direction. The herd becomes restless before rain begins. Adults call to one another. The small omnivore group moves toward higher ground because their traditional shelter floods during heavy rain. They learn that too. Lightning strikes far away. For several minutes, rain becomes so dense that distant animals disappear. Water rushes through shallow channels. Dust becomes mud. Tracks vanish almost as soon as they form. This is a useful thought. Almost every moment we are imagining leaves no fossil. The herd tightening around juveniles. The predator deciding not to attack. The learned route to high ground. The plant depending on an animal for seed dispersal. Deep time preserves fragments. Life happens between them. The rain ends. Steam rises from warm ground. Now the small omnivore finds something unusual. A branch broken by the storm has exposed a nest of insects inside soft wood. The animal scratches at it with its claws, but cannot reach deeply enough. It looks around. Then it picks up a narrow twig in its jaws. It pushes the twig into the opening. Insects cling to it. The dinosaur eats them. A juvenile watches. The adult repeats the action. Is this the beginning of technological civilization? Probably not. It is tool use. That is enough. The moment reminds us that intelligence exists on a continuum and that sophisticated behavior does not have to end in skyscrapers. The juvenile tries the twig later and fails because it chooses one too thick. Tomorrow it may choose better. Toward evening, the herd moves away from the river. The large predator returns, this time accompanied by a younger animal. Whether they are related, temporarily cooperating, or simply tolerating one another is impossible for us to know from one evening. They follow at a distance. One herbivore limps. Now the hunt may happen after all, but we turn away, not because nature is gentle, but because no ecosystem can be understood only through its moments of violence. The sun lowers. The plain becomes gold. Thousands of animals move through overlapping lives. Some are dinosaurs. Some are mammals. Some are birds, which are dinosaurs too. Some are reptiles whose ancestors watched the first dinosaurs appear more than 200 million years earlier. Some are insects belonging to lineages even older. No creature is thinking about geological eras. No one knows that an asteroid once missed. No one knows there was another possible Earth in which the great terrestrial dinosaur lineages ended and mammals eventually built cities. The small omnivorous dinosaur returns toward its shelter. The juvenile that watched the tool use follows. Overhead, the first stars appear. And now something very strange becomes clear. This world does not feel prehistoric. It cannot. Prehistory is a human label. To this world, this is simply the present. The grass is modern grass. The climate is modern climate. The constellations are modern constellations. The dinosaurs are modern animals. They have survived so long that calling them ancient would be like calling an elephant ancient because mammal ancestors lived beside dinosaurs. Ancestry is old. Life is always now. Night deepens. There are no city lights on the horizon. The Milky Way stretches from one side of the sky to the other with a brilliance almost impossible to see from most inhabited places in our world. A large herbivore calls in the distance. The sound crosses darkness. Another answers. The small dinosaur settles beneath the roots. The juvenile lies nearby. Tomorrow it may remember the twig. And in that tiny remembered action lies one of the alternate world's many futures, none of which need become ours. So what, after all of this, did the asteroid really change? Not simply whether dinosaurs existed. It changed who inherited ecological space. That distinction is the heart of tonight's question. Before the impact in our world, mammals were already successful in many small-bodied niches. Birds already existed. Flowering plants were already diversifying. Dinosaurs themselves were diverse and, according to current evidence, cannot simply be described as a doomed group waiting to disappear. Scientists still debate trends in dinosaur diversity during the last millions of years of the Cretaceous because the fossil record is incomplete and different analytical methods produce different answers. Then Chicxulub arrived. The impact did not gently accelerate an inevitable replacement. It imposed a catastrophe. Around 3/4 of species disappeared across the mass extinction. Food webs collapsed when darkness and cooling disrupted primary production. Large terrestrial animals were especially vulnerable. Non-avian dinosaurs vanished. The surviving world was radically filtered. Mammals did not become dominant because evolution had judged fur superior to feathers or live birth superior to eggs. They became dominant partly because they were among the survivors standing beside empty ecological space. Without that vacancy, mammalian history changes. This is why a world without dinosaur extinction probably does not contain elephants simply sharing water holes with Triceratops' descendants while humans take photographs nearby. The elephant itself is one of the consequences of mammalian opportunity. The human holding the camera is an even more distant consequence. A missed asteroid reaches forward through time by preventing possibilities from opening. That idea can feel backwards. We usually imagine causation as something happening, but things that do not happen can shape history too. A forest that never burns allows one tree to survive and shade another seedling. A storm that never arrives lets a nest hatch. An animal that escapes predation reproduces. An asteroid that misses leaves ecological incumbents in place. The entire future then grows around their continued presence. This is sometimes called contingency in evolution. Outcomes depend not only on general biological rules, but on particular historical events. If we rewound Earth and played it again, some solutions might reappear because physics and ecology constrain what works. Wings are useful in air. Streamlined bodies are useful in water. Eyes are useful where light carries information. Sociality can help animals defend young and find food. But the exact species, exact lineages, and exact sequence would almost certainly differ. Our alternate dinosaur Earth illustrates both sides. We can predict broad pressures. Climate cooling favors insulation and migration in some lineages. Grasslands favor efficient processing of abrasive food. Isolation favors divergence. Variable environments can reward behavioral flexibility. Large herbivores alter vegetation. Predators track prey. Those are general principles. But we cannot predict the exact crest on a dinosaur living in alternate Kenya in 2026. We cannot know whether pterosaurs survive all 66 million years. We cannot know whether primates appear. We cannot know whether any non-avian dinosaur develops crow-level intelligence, ape-level intelligence, or technological culture. And pretending certainty would make the story less scientific, not more satisfying. The uncertainty is the point. There is one conclusion we can make with much greater confidence. Tyrannosaurus rex would almost certainly not still be Tyrannosaurus rex. Species do not normally persist unchanged across 66 million years. For comparison, the common ancestor of humans and old-world monkeys lived tens of millions of years after Tyrannosaurus was already gone in our world. Entire mammalian orders have transformed during that interval. Whales evolved from terrestrial ancestors. Horses changed profoundly. Apes arose. Hominins appeared. Ice sheets came and went. 66 million years is not a pause. It is enough time to reinvent a biosphere. So if someone opens a door in our alternate present and sees an animal with a long balancing tail, powerful hind limbs, feathers, and grasping forelimbs, they are not looking at a survivor in the ordinary sense. They are looking at the present-day tip of an ancient branch. Exactly as you are. Your own lineage extends backward through primates, mammals, synapsids, early tetrapods, fish, and far beyond. None of that makes you a Devonian fish walking around in modern clothing. An alternate modern dinosaur would not be a Cretaceous animal accidentally living too late. It would belong completely to its own time. That reframes the title of our question. What if dinosaurs had never gone extinct? In one sense, they did not. Birds survived. And because of them, we already know something profound about what extra dinosaur evolution can produce. It can produce hummingbirds weighing only a few grams. It can produce penguins diving through polar seas. It can produce ostriches running across open ground. It can produce parrots manipulating objects with remarkable precision. It can produce crows solving problems, ravens remembering social interactions, and songbirds learning complex vocal traditions. All of that emerged from one surviving part of the dinosaur tree. Now imagine that instead of one surviving branch, many major branches continue experimenting too. That is the true scale of the alternate world. Not one T-Rex walking through a city. Millions of evolutionary experiments that our history never got to see. Some would fail quickly. Some would last for 1,000,000 years. Some might become among the most successful vertebrates on the planet. Some might evolve bodies so unfamiliar that even a paleontologist would need skeletal details to recognize their ancestry. One might become extremely intelligent. Another might become almost entirely aquatic. A lineage of herbivores might evolve social systems as complicated as elephants. A small predatory form might adapt to living around another intelligent species, if one exists, becoming the alternate equivalent of an urban fox or raccoon. And one quiet lineage might do nothing spectacular at all, simply surviving in forests generation after generation while continents move beneath it. Evolution does not require every branch to become dramatic. Persistence is an achievement too. There is also something humbling about realizing that our own existence depends on absence. We often think of extinction only as loss, which it is. The KPG event erased extraordinary animals, plants, marine organisms, and evolutionary histories that can never be recovered. Yet the vacancies created by that loss became opportunities for survivors. Eventually, one of those surviving mammal lineages produced primates. One primate lineage produced apes. One ape lineage produced humans. And humans eventually dug into ancient rocks, recognized a strange boundary layer enriched in iridium, found shocked minerals and a buried crater, and reconstructed the disaster that helped make our own existence possible. There is no triumph in that, only contingency. If the asteroid misses, the dinosaurs do not win. We do not lose. Neither side existed as a contestant. There is simply another world. And the world keeps going. There is one last scientific caution worth carrying with us before we leave this alternate world. Removing Chicxulub does not preserve the late Cretaceous ecosystem like an insect in amber. The Deccan eruptions still happen. Climate still shifts. Sea level still changes. Continents still move. Competition continues. Species with narrow diets still risk disappearing when their preferred plants decline. Large predators still depend on enough large prey to support them. A lineage that appears dominant for millions of years can vanish when several ordinary pressures arrive together. So even if non-avian dinosaurs survive as a group, the first few million years after the missed impact might contain substantial turnover. Perhaps Tyrannosaurus is gone relatively soon for reasons having nothing to do with an asteroid. Perhaps Triceratops' descendants persist longer. Perhaps hadrosaur lineages spread widely because their feeding systems cope well with changing vegetation. Perhaps smaller feathered theropods become some of the greatest long-term winners because small size, broad diets, insulation, and behavioral flexibility allow them to move through unstable environments. We cannot know which exact branches would win, but this uncertainty helps us avoid one of the easiest mistakes in alternate evolution, confusing survival of a group with survival of its famous members. Mammals survived the age of dinosaurs in our world, but no mammal species living beside Tyrannosaurus is still walking around unchanged today. The mammal lineage persisted by transforming. Birds survived the KPG extinction, but the modern species outside your window are not the same birds that watched the impact winter begin. Survival across deep time means replacement within continuity. Parents resemble offspring. Offspring resemble their offspring. No generation looks like a revolution. And yet after enough generations, the descendant can become so different from the ancestor that only anatomy and genetics reveal the connection. Our alternate dinosaurs would follow the same rule. A Cretaceous ancestor with a broad beak and dental battery gives rise, through countless almost invisible changes, to a modern grazer adapted to dry grassland. A small feathered hunter produces descendants that move into trees, then perhaps back onto the ground, then into cold, open habitats. A giant lineage fragments into island populations, shrinks, expands again, and eventually produces animals its ancestors could never have encountered. There is no moment when one species suddenly turns into another. There are only populations changing. This is why the modern alternate world can be full of dinosaurs while containing almost nothing that looks exactly like a dinosaur book from childhood. And it is why the question becomes more interesting the farther we travel. At first we ask whether dinosaurs survive. Then we realize survival is only the first page. The real story is what they become. And now, after traveling 66 million years along a road Earth never took, we can begin to come home. Let the alternate continents remain where they are for a moment. Let the modern herds keep moving beneath unfamiliar stars that are actually our familiar stars. Let cold, adapted dinosaurs cross the northern snow. Let tropical herbivores open paths through forests. Let small mammals wait beneath roots, successful in their own ways. Let clever feathered hunters teach young behaviors that will never become fossils. The world does not need us to continue. That may be the quietest conclusion of all. In our imagined timeline, morning will come whether any creature understands orbital mechanics or not. Rain will fall without a weather forecast. Species will migrate without maps drawn on paper. Continents will continue drifting whether anyone gives them names. Life was doing all of this long before our species appeared, and it would have continued if our species never appeared at all. The missed asteroid makes that easier to see because it removes the assumption that human arrival was somehow the natural ending of the dinosaur story. There was never an ending waiting for us. There was an impact, a catastrophe, survivors, then millions of years of new possibilities. If Chicxulub had missed, those possibilities would have belonged to different branches. Maybe mammals still produce remarkable intelligence. Maybe a theropod lineage does. Maybe neither does. Maybe Earth in 2026 is a planet of astonishing animal cultures with no technology at all. Maybe somewhere on a riverbank, a dinosaur uses a twig and another watches. And that is as far as cumulative behavior ever goes. There is no cosmic rule requiring a species to eventually build a city. A planet can be full without having a civilization. A life can be complex without writing its complexity down. For us, however, the asteroid did strike. The Yucatan carries the buried scar. A thin boundary in rocks around the world records the moment. Non-avian dinosaur fossils stop. Ammonites disappear. Many marine organisms vanish. Forests collapse and recover. Mammals that survive begin exploring ecological spaces that had been unavailable before. Eventually, very much later, we appear. And because we appear, we can ask tonight's question. There is something almost circular about that. The catastrophe we wish away in imagination is part of the chain that made the imagination possible. If the asteroid misses, perhaps there is no human lying in bed wondering what would have happened if dinosaurs survived. Perhaps there is only wind moving through feathers in the dark. That does not make the alternate world sad. Sadness belongs to an observer who expected to be there. To the animals living on that earth, nothing is missing. Their world is complete. The young dinosaur beneath the roots does not mourn humans. The migrating herd does not wonder why elephants never evolved. The ocean reptile does not miss whales. They cannot miss branches of history that never existed. And there is a calming lesson in that too. We often imagine history as a single road because we can only remember the road that happened. Looking backward, events begin to feel inevitable. The Roman Empire seems destined to rise because we know it rose. Humans seem destined to evolve because we are here. Mammals seem destined to inherit the world after dinosaurs because we can see the result. Deep time reminds us how much of that certainty is created afterward. 66 million years ago, there was no sign hanging in the sky saying the age of dinosaurs was ending. There was an asteroid on an orbit. For reasons of gravity, timing, and geometry, it met Earth. That was enough. A difference of minutes on a planetary scale could have produced another biosphere. Perhaps not the exact one we imagine tonight. Almost certainly not. Our descendants of hadrosaurs and clever feathered omnivores are only plausible sketches used to illuminate evolutionary rules. The real alternate world, if we could somehow visit it, would surprise us far more than anything we can design from a human imagination trained on the fossils we happen to know. It might contain no recognizable descendants of tyrannosaurs, or perhaps some branch persists in a transformed form. It might contain giant sauropod descendants, or perhaps long-necked giants vanished during one later climate crisis and never return. Pterosaurs might still fill skies, or birds might eventually outcompete them anyway. Mammals might remain mostly small, or some lineages might become large where dinosaur competition is weak. There might be a technological species, or no technology anywhere on the planet. Science allows us to define constraints. It does not allow us to pretend 66 million years of evolution is predictable in detail. And that humility makes the question more interesting, not less. Because instead of asking whether T-Rex would chase cars, we begin asking what extinction really does. Instead of asking whether dinosaurs were smarter than mammals, we ask how ecological opportunity shapes intelligence. Instead of imagining one lost animal restored, we imagine millions of branches never cut off. And instead of placing ourselves automatically at the center, we notice that one of the most plausible consequences is our own absence. Let that thought remain light. You do not need to carry the weight of 66 million years tonight. You are here in the history that happened. Outside, somewhere, there may be a bird settling onto a branch. Perhaps it tucks its head beneath a wing. Perhaps another bird calls once from a roof and then becomes quiet. That animal is part of the answer. The dinosaur story did not end completely at Chicxulub. One branch passed through. It became forests full of songbirds, oceans full of penguins, wetlands full of herons, cities full of pigeons, deserts crossed by ostriches, and winter skies filled with migrating geese. The dinosaurs that survived did exactly what we have imagined their lost relatives doing. They kept evolving. They changed size. They changed diet. They learned new habitats. They became swimmers, runners, hunters, nectar feeders, seed eaters, scavengers, tool users, mimics, migrants, and companions to humans. A hummingbird does not look like the public image of a dinosaur. That is precisely the point. Give evolution enough time, and ancestry becomes hidden inside novelty. Tomorrow, if you see a crow on a railing, you will be looking at a modern dinosaur with cognitive abilities that would have sounded extravagant in old descriptions of prehistoric reptiles. If you see a pigeon walking across pavement, its feet and movements carry a lineage older than the city around it by an almost absurd margin. If you hear birds before sunrise, the sound comes from survivors of the same great extinction that removed the other dinosaurs. They are not relics frozen in time. They are what survival looks like after 66 million years. And perhaps that gives us the best real glimpse of tonight's impossible world. Not a resurrected Tyrannosaurus. A branch outside your window that kept going. Now allow the alternate Earth to grow a little more distant. The great herds can move beyond the edge of the imagined plain. The polar animals can disappear into snow. The river can keep carrying rainwater toward a nameless sea. The little tool using dinosaur can sleep beneath its roots with the juvenile beside it. No asteroid is coming tonight. In that imagined history, the dangerous object passed Earth 66 million years ago and vanished into space. In ours, its work ended almost as soon as it began, even though the consequences continue all the way to this room, this moment, this question. Let your breathing become slower now. There is nothing left to solve about alternate evolution before sleep. No need to decide whether intelligent dinosaurs would have built cities. No need to choose which mammal lineages would have survived beside them. No need to calculate the exact feathers on an animal evolution never actually made. Those questions can remain open. Open questions are allowed to rest too. Feel the surface beneath you holding your weight. The mattress, the pillow, the blanket, the quiet room around you all belong to a species that exists because history took one particular path through an enormous space of possibilities. For tonight, that path has brought you here. Far back in time, dinosaurs once nested, migrated, hunted, cared for young, and moved through landscapes that no human ever witnessed. Then the sky changed. Most of their branches ended. One did not. Mammals expanded. Primates appeared. Much later, people began looking at strange bones and stone and realizing that the world had once belonged to animals unlike anything they knew. Then we learned that birds were among them. Then we found the crater. Then we learned enough to ask what might have happened if it had not been there. That is where our journey began tonight, with a dark object moving toward Earth. So picture it one last time. Not striking. Passing. The asteroid crosses silently beyond the planet. Lit briefly by the distant sun, Earth turns beneath it, blue and clouded and unaware. Down on the surface, a dinosaur lifts its head for some ordinary reason. Perhaps it hears an insect. Perhaps it smells rain. Perhaps it is watching another member of its herd. It does not look into the sky. There is nothing to see. The moment passes. The animal lowers its head again. Morning comes. Then another morning. Then millions upon millions more. Species change. Mountains rise. Ice reaches across continents. Forests move. Grasslands spread. New dinosaurs appear that no Cretaceous animal could recognize. And eventually, on a planet without our cities, night settles over a modern world still carrying those ancient branches forward. The stars emerge. A herd becomes quiet. A feathered animal closes its eyes beneath tangled roots. The juvenile beside it sleeps with a memory of a twig it may use tomorrow. Nothing knows it lives in an alternate history. There is only the world that is. And here, in our own world, you can let that other one fade now. Let the plains disappear into darkness. Let the calls become distant. Let the deep time we traveled through loosen its hold on your thoughts. There will be other enormous questions, other impossible histories, other paths through the universe to imagine. They do not need your attention tonight. Tonight, the asteroid can keep sailing into the dark. The dinosaurs can keep walking into a future that never happened. And you can stay exactly where you are, warm and still, breathing slowly, while the real descendants of dinosaurs sleep somewhere beyond your window. Rest now. There is no need to reach the end of 66 million years again. We have already traveled far enough. Let your thoughts become quieter. Let the room become softer around you. Let the imagined footsteps on the distant plain fade until they are only part of the night. And whenever sleep is ready, let it arrive without needing to understand anything more. Sleep well, and I'll see you next time for another quiet journey into another enormous question. Good night.